Good morning and welcome to the video. Today we are going to be talking about why Mr. Beast works. Now, I just want to give a little backstory on myself. I've been on YouTube for over 12 years, and Mr. Beast was probably the biggest glow up I've ever seen for any channel ever. There are a couple of key components about Mr. Beast's approach to YouTube that I think we should highlight and talk about because nobody ever really talks about why that formula works. So let's talk about the first elephant in the room. It's the high budget. So Mr. Beast is wildly successful because of his high production value, high budget content that he creates. And I'm not saying high budget like insane VFX or, hiring amazing actors that cost millions of dollars to, bring on to set. I'm actually talking about the way he structures his content. So his content is primarily centered around these insane challenges, whether it's being stranded on a beach after crashing a plane, or 100 kids locked in a room and 100 adults locked into the room. There's a lot of money that go into this, and most of the reason why there's a lot of money is not only because of the high cash value prize at the end, like somewhere nearing $500,000 these days in his content, but also the cost of production in itself, whether that's, set design or hiring staff to help him, or all of these other back end, behind the curtain things that goes on when producing content like this. And these really high budget, high value pieces drive engagement for a variety of reasons. So we're gonna get into that. So the best way I can describe a Mr. Beast video is that it feeds into a fantasy. And without going into too much detail, I'd rather use kind of like a case study of how they feed into a fantasy and how they keep people engaged during that fantasy. So usually these videos aren't very elaborate. The last video that I watched and the one we're gonna talk about is 100 kids versus 100 adults for $500,000. So the concept of this video is very simple. They found 100 kids and 100 adults, mostly the parents, and they locked them in 2 separate cubes for 99 hours. The group that had the most amount of people by the end of the 99 hours won $500,000 split across all of the people left in the room. So in practice, if you ask a group of people to watch somebody sit in a room for 99 hours, this content is typically gonna be boring or perceived as boring. But Mr. Beast does a few awesome things throughout this video, and I'm not gonna go into all of them, just some of them, that keep the engagement up with the viewer, but also keeps the engagement up with the people participating in the challenge. So some of the things that they do throughout the video and the content that they showcase are showing them modifying the cubes with porta potties so that people can go to the bathroom. The kids taking the tiles off of the walls and doing arts and crafts with them.
So the boredom's kind of kicked in. We've been looking at these tiles and kind of realized that we can take them off. So
now we're gonna do that.
They also compared the kids to the adults at midnight. The kids were up playing and the adults were sleeping, baiting people out of the cube with food and coffee.
If 2 of you get out, I'll give everyone Taco Bell.
Or even a false hope of money.
Wait, is that your son? Why is that father like that?
There was a clip of 2 adults just being like, this is gonna be on the YouTube, right? Or something along those lines. Turning a button green outside the zone, and the 2 people from either cube had to run and push the button to shrink the other person's cube. Giving them a pipe to talk to from the kids' room to the parents' room so they could talk to their parents.
Hi. Mama's still here.
There were so many things that they did to keep this engaging, and the frequency at which they did it throughout the final edit, because they compressed a 99-hour video into a 15-minute video, was impressive. There was something happening every 30 seconds. And this is a common theme throughout Mr. Beast's content, where he takes a really simple concept, but he finds ways to spice up the content and have a key beat or, an engagement beat every 30 seconds. We also saw this in his Squid Game IRL video for $456,000.
I recreated every single set from Squid Game in real life, and whichever one of these 456 people survives the longest wins 456 grand.
Now, not only were there beats every 30 seconds, but the way Mr. Beast engaged the content creators and the viewers was textbook psychology. And if you were living under a rock this past year, Squid Game was a series where 456 people were competing for 45.6 billion won, or 38.2 million USD. He made this video even more engaging and spread it to a wider audience because he incorporated a lot of popular content creators in the content creator space into this content. And now, even though the video was only $456,000 to the player that won, compared to the 45.6 billion won, this was still a massive amount of money for a YouTube competition to give out on this scale. And not only was the experience grandiose because of the fact that the sets were so big and the amount of money to win was so huge, but it also gave the creators that were competing, as well as the viewers at home, the emotional connection to a series that they have grown to love. And that's what I'm talking about when I say feeding into a fantasy, because there are these unattainable, surreal experiences that MrBeast offers to the people participating in the challenges, as well as the viewers at home to participate in. And it's just a really, for the most part, amazing experience for the viewer. And the last key bit is all of the logistical and strategic stuff that we haven't touched on that I think will fall into a number of different categories, and we kind of touched on it a little bit before. So MrBeast posted a frequency about 1 time per week because high frequency, large scale productions take time. And this goes back to our chat earlier in a previous episode about consistency. They're able to deliver a high impact release once a week and probably able to backlog a ton of different content as well in order to keep the pace and keep their viewers engaged. And not only are they keeping their viewers engaged by delivering them content once a week, they're also keeping viewers engaged at the video level and keeping the pacing for video content. We talked a little bit about the fact that there is a key beat or an engagement beat every 30 seconds, and I truly believe this is MrBeast's recipe for success. They incorporate a lot of quick cuts, there's a ton of emphasis on the crew and the players' reactions, and even if you just click into a video for the first time, the intro hook has a ton of sound effects, epic cuts from the piece of content, and it shows that they really know how to keep an viewer engaged right off the hook.
I built 2 massive cubes so these 100 kids can compete against these 100 adults.
Whichever cube has the most people inside of it after 100 hours splits $500,000.
100 kids are going head to head with their parents.
So why does something happening every 30 seconds keep a viewer engaged? Besides from the obvious, there's always something happening. And by the time somebody processes the last thing that happened in the piece of content, whether it's, somebody falling off a block in Squid Game, or, running out of a room in the cube for 100 kids versus 100 adults, the next thing happens. You barely have time to process the last thing, and your brain just keeps getting fed new information and new exciting things, and you want to keep watching because you want to figure out where it's going, because there's really no saying where any of these videos are going to end up at, or what the outcome is going to be, other than somebody is going to win something. So that being said, a ton of the content is centered around suspense. Who will win what will happen next, and this is how he's been able to trick the algorithm into giving him more exposure. He's keeping people hooked by not letting them know what's coming next, and YouTube is like, hey, this video is really good, we're gonna keep promoting it to people, and that's how he's been able to not only, get promoted in the YouTube algorithm, but also make that YouTube money. It's truly, and this is for my family channel homies out here in Canada, never a dull moment. Another really good thing about MrBeast content, and this is more so speaking to how he grew initially rather than now, even though they're still involved, is actually the members of the cast. The members of the cast are high energy and they feed off each other really well, but what this also feeds into the fantasy aspect and the engagement aspect is that it's just a group of friends having a good time doing really dumb shit. The host, who is Jimmy, MrBeast himself, is also always playing off of the cast, but also the challenges and the other competitors that are actively involved in these challenges.
I hope you like math, because I'm gonna need you to count how much money this is.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No. I'm just gonna dump the money right here.
A good host in a game show, like, Bob Barker.
The price is wrong, bitch.
Or the host of Uh-Oh, if you're Canadian, they're able to play into the psychology of whoever's participating in the challenges. And this is kind of where the whole, if you leave this challenge now, we'll give you $1,000, or if you do this really dumb thing, you could win some money thing comes in. He's really trying to tap into the psychology of the people competing in these challenges, get them engaged so that he can engage the viewer at home. But the reason why it's so engaging is because MrBeast and his friends are just normal dudes. Like I said before, they're just a bunch of friends doing some really dumb shit with the money and the time that they have at their disposal. And I think that's what brings in and keeps a lot of viewers. It's because it feels accessible due to how Mr. Beast interacts with his crew and his friends, as well as the competitors. Whereas other game shows may seem out of reach.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Howie.
Sometimes the show is all about the money.
Because it's in this highly produced studio with all of these executives and these like perfectly polished hosts and candidates for winning a prize. It definitely seems way more relatable than unattainable for the viewers at home. And then another reason why, and we talked about this last week, and I'm gonna countercall myself a little bit here, is that it doesn't fit a specific niche. So the niche that I would call Mr. Beast is probably just outrageous. So because they don't fall into a specific niche, like they're not a gaming creator, they're not a lifestyle creator or a fashion creator or a car creator, they are an outrageous creator. This gives an edge for them to continue growing on YouTube. They aren't chasing fads, they aren't chasing trends, they're creating their own engaging content in their own niche that doesn't rely on the shifts associated to what the flavor of the month is or what's hot in the current time period that we're in at this time. And because there's no niche, that means there's a lot of barriers lifted on age, gender, and other demographics that advertisers, but also sponsors take into consideration when they're funding these videos and when YouTube is promoting it on the platform. If you've ever looked at a Mr. Beast video, you know that he actually doesn't add any sort of tags to his content. I'll even prove it to you with a quick clip here. So I have this add-on called vidIQ, hashtag not sponsored, where it lets me see all of the SEO in a video, even hidden SEO, so things like video tags, channel tags, topics, stuff like that. And you can see here that Mr. Beast actually has no tags in his video. The only piece of SEO that you can actually search on YouTube is the Squid Game in real life. So that's the only thing that's really categorizing or cataloging this video in the YouTube algorithm. Pretty cool, huh? Because there's no locked-in demographic and because the reach is so broad, he's able to tap into so many different markets when it comes to funding. This means that there's an exponential earning potential, which means that he can also continue creating this outrageous and hilarious content that we all know and love. And finally, we're gonna end off on a little bit of a lower note. His use of thumbnails and titles are fantastic. His thumbnails are colorful, they use minimal text, and it uses emotive faces. It also tells the story of the title of the video without oversaturating the thumbnail with a whole bunch of different things going on like text or just too much stuff. Too much stuff is not good on a thumbnail. The titles are very short and sweet. So like we said, 100 kids versus 100 adults for $100,000. I survived a plane crash, and then hydraulic press versus Lamborghini. This ensures that on every platform of YouTube that there is, whether, you know, it's TV, mobile, PC, tablet, whatever, the title is always being previewed in full on that platform, and it allows you to be more creative and more simple with your thumbnails, which will cause more people to click. Now, this video was not a Mr. Beast fan video, it was just an analysis, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to learn more or you have any ideas for other content creators that you want me to go into and describe kind of why their channel works and how their channel works and how you can use that to grow, please leave it down in the comments below. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe to this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for tuning in.